Hi, I'm Jen Uselis. Most people know me as Jenbom, the Klingon pop warrior. And I am really nervous to be standing in front of all of you today. If somebody had told me in 2015, when I showed up to my first qep'a, that I would be here to give a talk about translating for an actual Star Trek show, I would not have believed you. So I am humbled. I am honored to be here. I feel very undeserving some days, but I'm very grateful. Okay. Whew. Okay. Jenbom, yeah. How in the name of Kalis did I get this gig? So I have been doing the Pop Warrior Project since 2014. That's when I released my first EP. And in 2015, I attended my first qep'a. I thought when I did this project, I would do one CD. It would be really fun. And that would be it. I'd maybe get to sing at a few conventions. I'd have a good time. And that would be the end of it. Here I am 10 years later with technically almost 5 EPs worth of music. And it's still going. And in 2020, I had been on the Star Trek cruise at that point 3 times in a row. And I hustled the ship talent show all 3 years, and I won all 3 years. In some cases, they said I tied with some Federation Patak, yeah. But after the 3rd time, I was walking through the ship, and it was one of the last days of the cruise, and there was a woman singing cover songs in one of the bars on the last night of the cruise. And I sat down and I listened to her, and she was just in street clothes, singing to backing tracks in English. And 3 of the 5 songs she did while I sat there were songs I sang in Klingon. And I was like, why am I not standing there right now singing my silly songs in Klingon instead? And one of the things that I kind of realized was that I was kind of bumping up against I'd gotten my project as far as I could with conventions as I kind of could on my own. But I wanted to, it's always been important to me with the Pop Warrior Project to be very respectful of the fact that I am using the word Klingon in my name, kind of. And I didn't want to be, CBS Paramount to get mad at me. So I've always donated a lot of my proceeds to charity and done as much as I could to stay in their good graces. And but to get into conventions and some of the bigger ones, you almost have to have representation and an agent. But an agent only makes money if you make money. And I didn't want to charge a lot. That's not why I do this. So I had some friends who knew the VP of Star Trek brand management, John Van Sitters. And so I was like, okay, how do I get in touch with him? And she's like, just send him an email. And I'm like, okay, I'll try. So when I came back from the Star Trek cruise of 2020, which for those who don't know was March 1st through the 8th of 2020. Yeah. I sent him an email. I got his email address and I sent him an email and was like, you probably don't know who I am, but this is what I do. And I would very much like to be able to do more conventions, but I'm kind of having trouble getting my foot in the door. What could I do to get, licensing or become maybe like a Klingon language ambassador for, or something like a fan ambassador, something that could give me a little bit of credibility with conventions that would, make them pay attention to me. And he wrote me back 20 minutes later and said something to the effect of, I know who you are. I don't want to scare you. I follow you on social media. And I'm taking my son to the orthodontist right now. Let me get back, but I will get back to you. And no more than an hour and a half later, he actually wrote me back, and I was floored. And he's like, it was pretty much the conversation kind of went, I've actually been trying to come up with ways to, you know, I really like what you do. I don't think a licensing agreement makes sense for you or us. Keep doing what you're doing. There's a lot of stuff up in the air right now, but like, just, you know, like, you're okay. It was kind of the, you know, it was kind of what the conversation was. And so what I didn't know at the time was not along with COVID, there was also the CBS Viacom merger happening. So there really truly was like a lot of stuff up in the air at that point. And then COVID happened 5 days later after I sent that email. We all went into lockdown, and I was like, well, not going to hear from him for a while. Flash forward a year later, he reached back out to me and said, so it's now spring 2021. And he's like, I think I might have something for you. Would you be interested? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, give me, like, I have to talk to some people, but so just sit tight. Oh, okay. And then nothing happened. And then a couple weeks later, I get another email from him that's like, can I call you? Here's my number. Like, I'm going to say no to the VP of Star Trek brand management. So I gave him my number. He called me 5 minutes later, and he's like, so have you heard about Star Trek Prodigy? Yes. Everybody had heard of knew Star Trek Prodigy was coming at that point. And he's like, it's just 6 or 7 lines. It's a really small lift. Do you think you could do it? Do you think you could do the translations? We need somebody to do the translations. He's like, they went online and they used something and I know it's wrong. So, so I was like, at that point, I said, I will do it. I had a niece who was about 4 years old. So she was right in the age demographic. And I'm like, I want to work on this show. I want to do something that would make my niece excited about the fact that her aunt sings in a funny costume. And so I was like, I'll do it. I'm like, if I'm in over my head, I will figure it out. Like, I will figure it out. And at this point I had been translating my own songs. So it's not like I was totally uncomfortable, but I still also got a lot of help. And when you do Star Trek, you got an NDA. So, you know, help has to be done in such a way that they don't know what you're working on. Juliana, I may have sent you a message asking for some advice on a sentence that I changed all the verbs on and all the other things. It was like, is this right grammatically? And so things like that. So, you know, you have to be really careful. But I'm like, I can do this. It's 6 lines. How bad could it be? Famous last words in television. It really was not a big lift, but it was a big enough lift that it got my name in the credits, and enough for me to be able to say, hi, I'm Jen. I'm the Klingon pop warrior. I sing pop and rock songs translated in the Klingon language. And oh, by the way, I'm also the Klingon language consultant for Star Trek Prodigy. Which made it look a lot better when I started emailing conventions. So season 1. Yeah. First of all, the show was already completed. They tried to do it themselves. John Van Citters told them no, was how I ended up getting involved. So the first thing that they did, which was, I think, one of the only lines that I didn't have to do anything with, they actually did qep'a all on their own. So that was the first thing that you hear. Gwyn like puts her head up against a wall and is just like qep'a. It's a great catch-all invective. We all know this was my note to them, was kind of like the Klingon version of damn it. But what I knew with that line, what was so exciting, because not only did I do the language translation stuff, but I also gave them recordings of every line that I did for them, and I recorded it at 3 different speeds. So like I did it like syllable by syllable, and then a little faster, and then as conversational as I could get it, so that they had an understanding of what it would sound like. So I knew with this first line, I'm like, if I can get Gwyn, if I can get the actress to say it, to get that big Q out and get that TLH out, people who are listening who know Klingon are going to be really excited, because they're going to be like, oh, they did it right. Like, and that was what I That was what I was really excited about. Oh, I should also, one of the other funny anecdotes, the thing that happened in 2021, qep'a was online, and they had done the same weekend as qep'a. They were doing San Diego Comic-Con at home or whatever, and they were the panel for Prodigy happened that weekend, and they dropped the fact that somebody had done Klingon for it. They were like, yeah, and they told us we needed to go back and get it done. And Ella Purnell very specifically said, oh yeah, she was wicked. And I was like, because I was on Zoom calls coaching them. Well, the minute everybody in this room heard she was wicked, they all started asking Robin questions in a chat. And was like, NDA. And Robin even said, even if I had, I have an, even if I could tell you, I couldn't tell you. And I did something on camera where I looked to the side like somebody had walked into my room, turned off my camera, I muted, turned off my camera and walked away because I was like, don't say anything. Do not say anything. I was like, they can think it's Robin until this show comes out, and that's fine. So that was one of the other kind of funny things. So the next thing that you hear is Gwen just saying something like it's called a mechlech. They actually, I don't think they re-recorded her saying that word, so I think she did kind of get a little bit of a TH in there, but it was close enough. This was the Klingon captain, Techochu. This was episode 106, if I remember correctly, was the Kobayashi Maru episode. And so you've got a captain in the background who's like, Techochu! And so that was how I did that one. I was like, y'all kill him. It was kind of where that was, and like give it that ultimate death emphasis in there, because you also have to remember I was kind of within the bounds of the fact that they had already, everything was done, the animation was done and all of that, so I had to keep things as close to what they had originally given me as possible. So they originally did Chahoch. Sure, why not? That's the struck out thing was what they gave me. And that was all they gave me also was context about the battle doll. So like they didn't really give me scripts. They just kind of gave me what I needed to do and sent me on my merry way. This moment, they sent, after I had already gone through all the recording sessions, they're like, hey, we need you to lip match a cartoon. Here's the video. And this is what they gave me. No sound. That was it. And all I could think about was the fact that, like, I'd heard about Mark having to do something similar to this, but with an actual human mouth. I think, like, everybody who has done a show, I did not expect to have to do this with a cartoon. I was like, what is it? What are they doing here? And they're like, oh, he's just swearing. And it was a moment where, like, a second later, the Klingons blow up. So I watched the mouth a few times. I was like, Raicha. Yeah, Raicha. So I gave them Raicha. So that's why the guy there says Raicha right before they explode. But I mouth matched that. And that was pretty ridiculous. Thank you. I was like, anybody who knows me also knows that swearing is very on brand for me. So the fact that the first Klingon uttered in Prodigy was a swear word, and the fact that I got to give them a swear word for this moment, I was like, yes. This episode, so episode 114, Gwyn is trying to get a Klingon's attention and ask for help. Now, you may notice that this line, Shuvwit Kadachnish, actually did not actually show up in the episode. She says something like chokoi, which is kind of what it looks like this chew koi thing that they gave me is. They forgot to record this line. And also what I didn't know was that when I was given all the lines, I did not know that the show was totally in the can. That was pretty much like in the can at that point. So I had given them Shuvwit Kadachnish, warrior, I need to speak to you. My thought being when and I still stand by the fact that she then says chokoi, which I guess isn't totally wrong. It's say I need, like, hear me or you hear me. my justification was basically, she has never been around Klingons. She's totally book learned. She wouldn't know any better. I don't care how good you are at language. I think all of us know that when you walk into a room and try to start speaking to people, it's a very different experience. And when you're talking about not having the cultural context as well, I was like, good enough. So, and then I also gave them a couple extra words because I didn't know if that person had a rank or not. So I was like, if it's a captain, she could say Chod, Kajachnish, or if it's an admiral, Aj. I gave them some extra stuff just in case. 119 was where the bulk of this stuff happened. And this is where now they know that Starfleet is under attack and there's a lot of stuff happening. And the first line, 172, who has the nerve to beg before the Klingon? So Klingon wo wejmaH kajun pach rajiv, who has the audacity to beg the Klingon Empire. That was Deborah Wilson who did that line, and I was a big Mad TV fan in college, so getting to be on a Zoom call with Deborah Wilson was like my biggest fangirl moment of the whole thing. I was also like 5 minutes away from being on a Zoom call with David Diggs, and I was really bummed that I couldn't justify staying on the call. I was like, Hamilton, it's Thomas Jefferson, but no. So that was that line. Starfleet is under attack. So this section, they only ended up doing 2 lines that I translated. But Gwyn does like a whole speech where she's like, Starfleet's under attack. The ships are attacking themselves. There's all this stuff happening. And something's attacking us. And what they ended up doing was with her is she's sort of standing in like, she's like at the captain's chair, and it's like a camera kind of pans around her. And when Ella was doing her recording session for this, it was really early in the morning in LA. I think I was on the call at like 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Central Time. So it's like 8 or 9 in, West on the Pacific. And this is like a 20-some, an early 20-something girl. I think she had been out the night before. and so she was definitely like there was like a little bit of a struggle there, but we also found out at that point, oh, you know what? We only need the first 2 lines in Klingon. So I had agonized over this whole speech to make sure I got it all like mostly correct. And then they only needed to use 2 lines. And I was like, so Starfleet is under attack. There's something attacking Starfleet. They've lost control of their ships, and it won't stop until Starfleet destroys themselves. They can't control their ships. Starfleet's destroying itself. It won't stop. I am requesting your aid in our immediate assistance and help relaying this message to all our non-Federation allies. So that was Shibit Shakachnish Yukjij Dive and Bokwet Pumatvad Kinvam Wingech Mech Chebochnish. I need your aid immediately. You must assist us in sending this message to our non-Federation allies. For me, it was really hard because I know very much that my grammar is subpar at best. So but I also was like, this maybe isn't necessarily the worst thing. The fact that my grammar isn't, is somewhat more basic than some of the other folks they could have gotten. Because again, Gwyn is book learned. She has never actually spoken. So when you're standing there in a conversation with somebody and you're scrambling for words, like the hope is that you're getting your point across. So I went with that. I was like, so any mistakes she makes because she doesn't know any better. Good enough. So we beg you, and that was like some of the other fun things with this is like, I'm thinking like, Klingons don't beg. And even if you're like going to the Klingon Empire, if you know anything about Klingons, you want to be strong in what you're saying. So we desperately request your military support. We require your ships, your freighters, and your shields. I was kind of sad because by the time I was done with this, I was like, this could be a really great speech. I'd love to give this speech in Klingon. And it just didn't happen. They didn't make it this far in the episode. Um, anything that will slow the attack Starfleet is inflicting upon us. And also, like, I feel like this is one of those things too, where like the way that writers write things, you're just thinking to yourself, how do I make this work in Klingon with what I know of Klingon vocabulary, of and stuff like that. I'm just like, this sucks. So that's the rakachnish kau echtach edjo edge wimevcho. All right. But this was the big one. So that was like the little bit that I did for season 1. So season 2, though, I had one job to do for season 2. And I hope I did the Klingon language community proud for this one. So they sent me an email and said, we want to use the Klingon victory song, which is in the Birthright episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. The original lyrics were by Brannon Braga. The song has also been featured in the Keith R.A. De Candido novel, The IKS Gorkon. When I was approached to take it on, my first question was, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do that? I was like, Mark Okrand, the creator of the language, did this lovely thing called the Warrior Anthem. And they're like, nope, we want to use this one. And I'm like, the ask was to provide them clear subtitles or meaning for a song that is fundamentally nonsense. So I was like, so when they're like, no, this is the song we want to use, I was like, oh God, okay, here we go. So the steps that I took, first of all, I pulled the original lyrics from, I know that this is something that's been talked about for a really long time. So I know it's on the Klingon wiki. And so I went to the Klingon wiki, I pulled the lyrics, and then I started looking for patterns, because the problem with this song is that there are sounds, the Z sound, a hard G, I think, is thrown in there. There's stuff in that song that just doesn't exist in what we consider modern Klingon whole. So my first goal was to create sound changes for those sounds that no longer exist in modern Klingon, and create consistency across those different sound changes. So like if I saw this sound, the Z sound, I was like, every time I see it, I'm going to make it this sound. And then I prayed that it would turn into something that I could use. So once I created all those sound changes, I basically went back and was like, are these words? So these were the lyrics. These were the lyrics in the original sheet music. This Bagda Tumo Choja Duro Yaja Keo Yaja Keo Yaja Keo Majdok Odu Jidak Maju Padak Chabach. Yeah, it was pretty weird. Teblau Negu. I love, So then these were the lyrics from the script that I called Ye Olde Klingon Hole. And so you can see like Bog, there's like capital letters in weird places, like this capital H, like why is that there? Yijako, which is basically like, don't tell me. And then there's stuff that wasn't in the script. We have this great thing here for Mugato. Like, why are we singing about a Mugato in the victory song? Like, there's a lot to unpack here. So yeah, this P, there's a big P here, job ditch, Ron Odge, job ditch. There was so much where I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? What did I get myself into? What we know, because this was what they said this stuff meant in the script, was fire streaks the heavens, Bada Tumo, Choja Duro, supposedly means battle has begun. So I'm thinking to myself, how the heck do I get to my from Choja Duro? but there's also that idea of like cultural context changes, and like there's a lot of, I'm thinking to myself, all right, we'll get there, we'll figure it out. We'll make it make sense is really what I had to do. I'm like, and now the other important thing as I'm talking about this, all I needed to give them was English. But it's not that easy when this is what you're working with. And you're somebody with a degree in theater who is, I say I am fundamentally an idiot trying to make this happen. So this was where we ended up. So we had this was the script. This was the supposed Klingon, and then this was this is what I came up with for the Klingon. So Bach Dach Tudmoch Chol Jag Duro Yai Kuo Yai Kuo Yai Kuo. Now that Yai Kuo, I have to give most credit on that one to the fantastic Dr. Mark Okren back there, because I sent him an email late on a Sunday and was like, I think it was titled something like, "Oh my Kalis, please help me." But at that point I had done all of my work, but I was like, I don't like this line. This yajako doesn't make it. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense, but I don't know what else to do with it. And he said, well, sometimes that J sound becomes a Y. And he's like, I don't know what you're going to do with the KO. It was kind of like, good luck. Good luck, Padwan. And I was like, no, that's what I needed. As soon as I understood what Yai was, once I understood that became Yai, I'm like, Yai a kuo, Yaja ko, or Yaja ko, Yai a kuo. It is a fierce, great victory. It is which the song is the friggin' victory song. So that makes a lot more sense than don't tell me. So that was kind of where that came from. So, Bach Dach Turmo, fire. Now it thunders. That's actually pretty close to the whole fire or thunder streaks across the sky. Choljag Duro, the enemy closes in. That's actually not terribly far off from the idea of a battle happening or a battle starting. Duro, our fists are vigilant. Yaya Kuo, fierce victory. Oh, fierce victory. Oh, fierce victory. Oh. This is now stuff starts to get a little bit goofy, but I did like the fact that there were some patterns that started to emerge, or just some things that started to kind of come out as I did start working, as I started to work through it. So this Mash der Och Dur. It is a moon sign. What does that mean? I don't know. It means something to Klingons. Like there's a sign in the moon. Like maybe that's the sign to start the battle. I don't know. I'm not questioning what this Klingon is telling me. I'm just here to tell you what the Klingon means. And then vigilance. Vigilance kind of comes up. That dur shows up a lot. And I was like, that's kind of cool. Like that idea of vigilance and a victory and like fighting through it. Dorje Wibush, we focus on, I figured, unconditional surrender. So I put the parentheses were pretty much just to kind of give that our enemies, like what is this unconditional surrender that we're waiting, we're focusing on? It's our enemies, unconditional surrender. Tav der Char Bach. The moon sign trembles. I was like, sure, why not? Conquer, fire, Buk Rat Chu Chob, danger engages, remains, and threatens. So then this was the second half of the song. Keblau is really weird. I actually have a note about that somewhere. Because that was like it didn't make any sense. I was like, maybe I think I had a note that said something like, well, maybe this is some heretofore unknown meaning behind this word. But I'm not the person to tell you that. So that became Vit laut nech u. The universe wants many truths. Mugato. This was probably my proudest moment in this whole song, trying to figure out why the hell Mugato was in this song. It's actually not Mugato. It has nothing to do with Mugatos. Mugat ko. It won't dominate me. Dur, vigilance. So the universe wants many truths, but the universe isn't going to dominate me. Vigilance. And then fierce victory, oh, fierce victory, oh. The last verse of the song we actually don't hear in the Birthright episode. And when I sent them the email, I said, you know what? Nobody actually knows what this really sounds like or has heard it. And this makes no sense whatsoever. So I would say if you're going to put this song in there, just leave this off. Leave it off. They didn't end up using anything except the wejmaH KO after I did all of this work. They only used wejmaH KO in the whole thing, and they even spelled the yaya kuo wrong in the subtitles. So I was like, it's fine. So the final verse, Van Aj Jatberg, the admiral salutes, the moon sign speaks. Again, we don't know why the moon sign is there, but it's very important to Klingons in ancient Klingon. Klongbitch, certainty sleeps. Kind of like that. Witver, we all go through it. Thank you. You know. I did like there was this thing about Da'ar in there, so I'm like, something about a Dahar master is happening. Khil kel Da'ar. The Dahar master considers and announces his presence. Was Khil kel Da'ar. And then Rik Vak Chochka. He is aggressive and he kills again. Sure, why not? Yaya, wejmaH KO, wejmaH KO. wejmaH KO. That's it. That's what I did for Prodigy. Thank you. So the next something, at least as far as I'm concerned. And then I had nothing to do with anything that appears visually on the screen. They did not ask me for it. I was like, wow, that's a bummer. Especially in the first season, there was stuff that people were like, what is this? Yeah, they didn't do that. I know that I've taken a picture of it. I haven't had a chance to actually like dissect. There's one thing that Rock Talk picks up. I don't know what it is. I'm going to assume it's not valid, but because they didn't ask me to translate it or provide them Picard for anything. And there were a couple other lines. I think he did say qep'a. I was like, yay. And the guy who sings that song, he says something else, but I cannot find anything in my notes that indicate I gave them that line. So I don't know who did it, but thanks. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. Woo!
In the second season, there was, I don't want to spoil anything, but there was one line that was repeated by somebody who was speaking in Klingon, I'll say here, about 2/3 of the way through the season.
That's season 13, wejmaH KO. The singing thing?
No, not the singing thing. It was about a guy doing research.
That's that episode where he's singing the song.
No, but he said something like,
"Oh, the first
move
line
away or die."
Right. He said,
oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I did anything that was spoken. I did not. All I did for season 2 was the song that I'm aware of. I can't. Maybe I blocked it out of my memory. But I couldn't find anything in any of my emails indicating that I translated that line for them. So yeah, that's it. That's what I did. And I have notes I can provide to anybody who wants it. I'm happy to provide the translation. I was really proud of it. It kind of turned out poetic in a slightly doesn't make sense entirely to Terrans, but it doesn't have to.
It's ancient Klingon history.
Exactly. It's ancient Klingon history.
We have plenty of time left if you need questions.
Yeah.
You know if they recorded more of the song they just didn't use?
I have no idea, honestly. And they asked me early enough in the process that I gave them for that as well. I gave them a recording of the whole thing just in case they needed it, the actor wanted it. But I don't know like where in the process they were when they asked me to give them the thing. I would assume that they had gone into it with the intent because they asked me for the whole song. They didn't ask me to just do the one line. But yeah, I don't know where they were in the process when they asked. Oh. No, I have not. So like seeing the actual Klingon words that I did, I hadn't really thought about. Now I feel like though, because we know what the original words mean, now it makes, now you can sing wejmaH KO and you're singing in an ancient Klingon dialect. Fierce victory. Oh.
There is sheet music for that that I found on the interwebs.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to learn that on the cello now.
So, just because I haven't seen the episode yet, what the singers in the episode do they sing wejmaH KO?
Yeah, and that's all. It's one guy on a planet. He's a scientist, and he's singing in an ancient. They're sort of like this conceit or joke that's made about it's some sort of ancient Klingon dialect that I barely understand or barely recognize. I think it's something along the lines of what Gwyn says when she hears it, and yeah. So it makes sense that he's singing this song. He's also, I think, been on the planet for a really long time. So he's kind of been by himself for a long time. So that song it's I think in the Birthright episode it's presented as like a lullaby.
Yeah, so they taught it to the children as a lullaby because they were keeping.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's presented as a lullaby and then it's on. After they rediscover its true meaning.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Fierce victory.
Fierce victory. Yeah.
A reasonable lullaby for kids.
Yeah.
Fierce victory.
Right. Anything else? Thanks. Hands down, the crazy. It took me as much time to do that song as it did all the stuff I did in the first season, just because I sat down and I'm like, I can't screw this up. Like that was the whole time I'm working on it. I'm like, I can't screw this up. This is something that has been like talked about. It's been out there for decades now. The Klingon language community knows it exists. We all kind of are like, Paramount Hole! Ha ha. I was like, I need to make sure that this makes some kind of sense in some context, and I cannot screw this up. Because if this ends up in the show in its entirety, oh dear.
I do understand that I cannot screw this up. Discovery, the first thing they gave me was the song Undefeated from John M. Ford's novel, and if you're a god, they do not help. Victory belongs to the strong. Know that all things done before the naked stars are remembered. It's like this is like core.
Yeah, it's like really, when you're like looking at something that's canon, but that's also canon that it has been not necessarily scoffed at per se, but is like everybody has just accepted the fact that this means nothing. And so I wanted whatever ended up in the subtitles, like I said, at the end of the day, all they wanted was the English. But I had to make that English make sense so that if people were seeing the English, they would know where I got it. Hopefully they would know where I got it from and what I came up with. So a lot of what I did was, like when I wasn't finding words that made sense, I was like, okay, that's not actually a word. Well, what words begin with, GHI? What words begin with GHA? What begins with, and then and being like, that doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work. Oh, that's interesting. Like maybe this will fit here, and like try. So that was sort of the, going back and forth with the dictionary and being like, okay, what have I got here that I can work with that will, make some sort of contextual sense in this whole thing. And like I said, all praise to Mark, because like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a person who sings in Klingon. I'm an actor who got a gig. My whole idea was just like, what would this sound become? Like if I were an old Klingon, and like trying to think in those terms without having a linguistics background is certainly a different experience, I'm sure, than what someone with a linguistics background would do in that case. But maybe that was also because it was a song, it helped musically. Yeah. Right. Yeah. This is working backwards. And yeah, actually, I think I may have emailed Robin first. I was like, I need Mark's email address. Somebody give me Mark's. He had Mark's email address. So that was my. Like, I really don't want to bother him, but this is, I can't not. Yeah, I've got to bother him for this one. I was like, we all have NDAs. It'll be fine.
But like, you might be busy. You might not hear from him before the deadline.
Right. Yeah. So it was good enough.
True victory achieved.
Yeah. That's what I did. So thanks, everybody.